The other big story, in fact, that is creating a full splash across the country, not just in Maharashtra. The Pune police waited for more than 45 minutes outside trainee officer, IAS officer Puja Khedkar's residence. However, the family refused to allow the police to, in fact, come in and ask them questions. This is regarding a long list of complaints which have been made against this trainee officer, who somehow, in fact, even before she has been, in fact, posted in training, thinks that she is, above the rules and regulations of service. Now, this trainee IAS officer is in trouble, though the cops were not allowed, but the kind of controversies and the tantrums that woman has thrown has got everyone baffled. Before, in fact, I move on, let me bring in Member of Parliament, Mr. Milind Deora, who is joining us at this moment. Mr. Deora, appreciate your time, sir. Thank you so much for speaking to us. You must have also read these reports, sir. The list of complaints is long and sent by none other than the collector of Pune. This trainee IAS officer, the way she has already started, in fact, misusing her position, raises a lot of questions.
Yeah, I mean, based on the reports that I've also read in the papers, the TV reports that I've seen, it certainly is worrying. It certainly is disturbing. I personally believe that people who enter public service, when I say public service, that means everyone from a bureaucrat, someone who enters IAS or IPS or other services, a politician, you and I, and even people in the media. We all have a certain standard we have to adhere to, and we have to ask ourselves a very important question: is that are we in this profession to serve, or are we in this profession because we have a sense of entitlement and we are only here for perks, and sometimes to get more perks than I are even entitled to. And so that's why this report raises some very, very serious questions, and I personally believe that the IAS officers, and specifically Maharashtra, has a history and a long legacy of throwing up some of the country's best IAS officers. I say this very responsibly. Maharashtra has produced some excellent bureaucrats in all the services. And therefore, I was very perturbed when I saw this. I was very perturbed that if this is the culture that is prevalent, this is something that we must weed out immediately. And I think everyone, whichever department may be concerned, whether it's the state government, which is the chief secretary, whether it's the central government, there must be a thorough, immediate, very quick, impartial inquiry, and such kind of officers, if found true that they are indeed abusing their position, are indeed throwing their weight around, these are things which should not be tolerated, because we want a culture of service, public service, that is citizen-friendly, that is service-oriented, that is for people who want to do something good for society, not people who come in for their own selfish interests. So, impartial investigation. I don't want to cast aspersions on anybody. I always speak on these things very responsibly. But a very thorough, impartial, quick investigation should determine what is the truth of the matter.
Right.
And immediately, if somebody is found guilty, they should obviously be removed from the service. And we should do more to ensure that such people do not enter the service in the first place. And if they enter the service and they're found to be abusing their power, then there should be immediate actions taken against them. Many a times, I'll add one more point, many a times we politicians are criticized regardless of which party we belong to, and rightfully so. I welcome the criticism. But please keep in mind, politicians still have a system of accountability. Politicians still get elected to office, unelected to office, they get voted in, they get voted out. The public ultimately has the ability to throw somebody out of office, especially a politician. The bureaucracy in India largely remains an unaccountable force, and ensuring accountability from within is very, very critical. And therefore, I'm keen that the government and the authorities must take the strictest action possible.
Is that the reason why you think, sir? Because once you enter the service, it is not easy to, in fact, take these kind of very stringent action against civil servants, especially the IAS officer. Is that the reason why they feel so entitled?
I'm not somebody who will be able to comment on that, but in my opinion, when we talk of reforms and we talk of improving governance in our country, certainly I believe that politicians ultimately still come under the net of accountability. The public still has the ability to vote for them, elect them. When we talk of judicial reforms, we talk of administrative reforms. How, in fact, are we making these pillars of our democracy, the bureaucracy, the judiciary, how do we make them more accountable? These are things which we need to debate as a society. You can't just say we're making politicians accountable, but the bureaucracy has no accountability.
Absolutely.
Or the judiciary has no accountability. So all these pillars which have very strong influence in determining governance, in determining what public services are given out to the citizens of this country, must also come under an accountability net. And when issues like this come up within the bureaucracy, and the bureaucracy, as I said, is not something that is elected or directly voted in or voted out by the public of India.
Right.
Then it's incumbent upon all of us as society to ensure that impartial, thorough, quick investigations are completed and the person, if found guilty, is weeded out of the bureaucracy, and such people should not be encouraged to enter the service.
Sir,
ultimately, the kind of culture we create is very, very important because, to be very, very frank with you, it's the bureaucrats who ultimately deliver public services. Politicians can ultimately create policies. But the delivery of public services comes from bureaucrats. They are ultimately the last mile in terms of delivering these services to the public.
And they largely are the face of the government in terms of the schemes that are implemented. Sir, two quick last questions. I was reading the post that you have put on X, in which you have, in fact, urged the the Chief Secretary to conduct a comprehensive impartial inquiry. Has there been any response from the Chief Secretary's office to your request?
But I do intend to take it up. And as I said, my reason for doing so is because I have great pride. Since childhood, I've had the good fortune of meeting, knowing, in fact, learning from, being in many ways mentored by very, 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 very effective IAS officers, IPS officers who've come up from the Maharashtra cadre, who've been excellent, who've served not just Maharashtra in various capacities, but even on deputation, they've served India in different departments in the government of India. They've served India internationally as well. And so I'm perturbed when I hear these things, and I say this as an Indian, I say this as a Maharashtrian, I say this as a Mumbaikar, that this transcends any politics, regardless of which party is in power, that these are things which must be done quickly. So I'm sure that the government of Maharashtra will take strict action. I'm sure that the government of India and the Ministry of Personnel will also be monitoring this case. And I do intend to raise it at the right forums at the right time.
It seems that, sir, this is a fit case for somebody entering the prestigious service for personal prestige rather than public service. Now there are serious allegations about her allegedly lying about the OBC status, the visual and the mental disabilities to secure the job as well. Would you also, see or like the IAS Association to look within? I mean, they also should be speaking about such cases.
Yeah, I don't want to say something like that because, as I said, few apples don't spoil the whole bunch. And there are good politicians, there are bad politicians. Somebody can't equate all politicians with one brush because somebody has done something bad. If one politician is corrupt, it doesn't mean all politicians are corrupt. If one politician is indulging in criminal activity, it's not fair to paint everyone in that brush. The same is true of your profession, for instance. And similarly, in the bureaucracy, there are bureaucrats who work extremely hard. There are bureaucrats who sacrifice a lot for the state, for the country. And it will be wrong if this woman is found guilty of what she's been accused of to paint all the bureaucrats in one brush. But I'm sure that ultimately the bureaucracy also, and especially the IAS service, they respect their reputation, they value their reputation, and I'm sure at the appropriate forums, as I said, once an investigation is complete, I'm sure at the appropriate forums, every service, whether it's IPS, IAS, foreign service, many, many services in our country, they will want to weed out elements that, as I said, bad apples that could potentially, from the perception point of view, spoil the whole bunch. And that's something we all must do and we all must ensure.